One expert suggests tapping personalities, influencers, and OFWs to help boost vaccine confidence among Filipinos.
High-risk hospitals in Metro Manila are set to receive the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines to arrive in the Philippines. These include the Philippine General Hospital in Manila, Lung Center of the Philippines in Quezon City, and Dr. Jose N. Rodriguez Memorial Hospital in Caloocan.
Inaanyayahan natin sila na tumulong to come out in public to say that all of us must get the COVID vaccine so that we can recover our economy, so that we can all stay healthy.
The Philippine Red Cross has opened saliva collection sites in Metro Manila and will prioritize students, factory workers, and public transport drivers in the saliva testing. By doing these tests, the PRC aims to help these sectors continue to live under these difficult conditions.
The government, meanwhile, expects to vaccinate 1.7 million frontline health workers on its priority list for vaccination. That would also include indigent senior citizens, other elderly people, and uniformed personnel. But while the government expects to inoculate at least half of the population in 2021, how will it improve vaccine confidence among Filipinos? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs.
And welcome to this Thursday edition of The Chiefs. Of course, with us in the studio is Robbie Lampay of One News, and also joining us online is Ana Marie Pamintuan of the Philippine Star in Manila, and the head of News 5, Luchi Cruz Valdez in Quezon City. Ladies and Robbie, good evening. And
Good evening.
I won't say happy Thursday, sige.
Oh.
What's your big story tonight?
Shortage sa pork.
Oo nga.
Now they're saying what?
Wow, imported pork na ang kakainin natin.
Hindi,
Siguro pati baboy natin, ano na, imported.
Yeah, but it's getting to the point that they're suggesting,
A pork holiday.
a pork holiday. People, may
Yes.
nakita nga ako social media, sabi, dati ang pork daw kailangan mong kainin para ma-high blood. Ngayon, makita mo pa lang sa palengke, high blood ka na.
But it has been getting confusing kasi in several statements before, the DA was saying that the supply was sufficient for at least for the first half of the year.
Yeah, and now they're very specific. 13-day shortage in the coming quarter.
13 araw na walang baboy.
Eh paano yan? Eh pati galunggong mahal. Ano ang kainin?
Okay.
Gulaman
na lang, gulaman.
Mahal.
Ami, what's your big story? Before you sige.
Siyempre, yung COVAX facility na in-approve for the Philippines, no? 44 million doses.
Okay.
And arriving by March or April, 9.2 yata yun, no? 9.2 million. Saka Pfizer yan and AstraZeneca, from what I understand from the World Health Organization. So, kahit baka biglang mag-volunteer yung mga opisyal natin dahil Pfizer na.
Pfizer tsaka AstraZeneca. Ikaw, malicious talaga kayong Philippine Star.
Eh, may breaking news ako eh. May breaking news ako. Sinabi ko sa inyo kahapon, gagawin natin yun eh. Tinulak na natin si Gretchen Hoy. Sinabi niya na kanina sa big story, willing siya mauna eh.
Basta sumunod ka raw.
Pag Pfizer.
Basta mauna ka raw, basta pangalawa ka raw LCB, pangatlo si Ed, pang-apat si
akala ko the condition was yung mga
Pfizer
bata.
ang unang dadating eh. Paano? Hindi masahimbak yan.
Akala ko yung condition yung mga bata, hindi yung mga mga geriatrics. Oops, teka. Let's go na to our guest.
Yan na. Pwede na tayo mag-segue.
Okay.
Habang naghihintay tayo ng vaccine, syempre testing pa rin, di ba?
Yeah. Well, as we promised in our
At least
introduction.
may maganda news doon. Ayan, segue mo na.
Yeah, as we promised in our introduction, we are going to be talking about vaccines and testing. And so we are joined tonight for the first half by Philippine Red Cross Chairman and Senator Richard Gordon. Senator Gordon, thank you for joining us and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be back, seeing the nice ladies.
Senator.
Never mind the men.
Okay lang, sir. We're fine with that. Well, sir, of course, we do want to talk about saliva testing by the Red Cross, but let me zoom in on this. In the last few days, nag-open po ng drive-through saliva testing in cooperation with the mall owners. How's it going, and do you plan to expand this?
It's going very well. Actually, we're already open in Bacolod, in Iloilo, in Cebu, in Surigao,
Surigao.
I'm sorry, in Cagayan de Oro,
Okay.
and in Isabela, and in Metro Manila, Subic, and Clark. And it's doing very well, although kumisan may mga conflicting news na binibigay. There's a saliva test na antigens that is not really approved, but they're claiming they're approved. Ang saliva test ng Red Cross is RT-PCR test. PCR pa rin. And it took a while before they approved it. We submitted it in October 17. This is from the University of Illinois in the United States. And we're very proud that there was a Filipina who is a PhD in molecular biology researching on cancer, Diana Ranoa, who helped us put this together. They beat Yale. Yale also has a saliva test, which I think RITM is also testing. But saliva test is non-invasive. Hindi na nakakainis pasukin yung ilong mo o yung bibig mo. At ang kailangan lang dito, half an hour before, you fast. You don't take water, you don't put lipstick, you don't eat. And, you be careful na hindi ka sa test. No? And it's very convenient, very fast.
Yeah, but Chairman, let me just clarify something because that very important reminder that you just made, 30 minutes before, don't put anything in your mouth, don't drink, don't eat, don't smoke, and so on. But I seem to recall yesterday, I recall reading a news item that also said that the Red Cross was reminding people going for saliva tests to clarify also with their employers and their agencies. What's that about? Are there employers who are not necessarily taking the results from the saliva tests?
First time I heard that, but nobody's complained to me.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's been very, very effective in the University of Illinois. There's hardly a positive case being detected. I think it's down to about 0.296 out of 1,200,000 tests. 0.29%. That's a very, very low figure. And even here recently, we tested about 3,418, and 98 were positive, or 3%. That's not bad. That's actually average even for the swab test. So we're pretty confident that this is a good one, and people will like it because it's cheaper, mas mura di hamak, kaysa doon sa mga sinisigil ng mga swab test. And by the way, this is being used already by Israel for a long time, since August 24, 2020. Japan has studied it and has finally okayed it for April 23, 2020. Hong Kong has been using saliva tests for all airport inbound clients. Australia has been doing testing in Victoria. So this is a pretty good test.
Pero Senator, hindi ba yung ginagamit nila, especially Israel, yun yung hindi kailangan ng laboratory? Hindi ba sila meron lang silang parang scanner na maliit na katabing-katabi nung isasaktak lang doon yung specimen. Tapos instantly, yun yung nakita ko sa Israel, that because we ran it in our newspaper.
No, that's not the one you're talking about. You have to have a laboratory test, PCR. Kung wala PCR, dapat magduda tayo. Because
kasi sinabi nila, taas-taas ng efficacy ng accuracy noon, 96%.
That's correct.
Baka antigen test yung binabagat ni Ami.
Mas mura sa kanila dahil mura rin yung
baka hindi kailangan ng laboratory. Yung cost nun, yung production cost lang naman, 25 US cents, production cost. Tapos yung daw unit, yung spectral scanner nila, is only about $100. Saka hindi mo na nga kailangan isaktak sa laboratory, dire-diretso. Ilalagay lang doon, parang pregnancy test lang, and the results are out instantly. Yun yung nabasa ko sa Israel.
Well, there are a lot of periodicals and documentaries being shown, but we are very, very careful, and that's why we're sticking to the PCR test. Dadaan sa laboratory, actually, if we say in 3 hours, you have the test results. Mas mura di hamak. At kung dadami talaga ang gagamit ito, we could bring it down from 2,000 maybe to 1,500. Hopefully, marami. Baka bumaba pa ng 1,000. Hindi naman kami tumutubo dyan. Gusto namin bumaba ang test because ang pakay namin makapasok sa trabaho ang mga Pilipino na makakapag-test sila palagi twice a week, once every 2 weeks, no? At gano'n rin yung ating mga eskwela, dapat makapasok rin sila. And that's being done in universities abroad. They're using this para makapasok sila sa eskwela. Yung iba, pagdating sa aeroplano, tinetest ka agad at walang hassle.
Pero sa mga OFW, sir, parang hindi pa yata pwede, no?
Pwede, kaya lang we test them in the hotels already. Doon na sila sinasaliva test. Hindi na sinasalubong sa airport. At,
Pero yung mga palabas, yung mga papunta sa bansa nila, parang hindi pa yata yun ang
they can test
kinikilala.
amin or they can test by, let's say, they can go to, diba, sa Araneta Coliseum. Soon, magkakaroon yan sa Araneta Center. Sa mga malls, magkakaroon yan. Sa mga pabrika, magkakaroon yan. And they can make appointments so we can go to them. At ang ginagawa pa so far sa OFWs ay yung tinatawag lang genome sequencing studies. But as far as I'm concerned, pwede na yung sa mga OFWs because mas gusto nila yan dahil mas mabilis.
Because it is still an RT-PCR test. Nagkaiba lang doon sa pinagkukuhanan ng
I just
sample.
want to point out that kami, every test namin, every 100 tests, sa swab test kami ng isa. Just to be sure the test remains honest. Kaya, gano'n na yun eh. Talagang lahat naman ng mga bagong mga processes ay kailangan padadaanin mo sa testing. Validation.
Sir, yung mga binanggit nyo kanina
Sir,
mga... sir, yung mga binanggit nyo
are you
kanina mga...
witnessing
go ahead. Richie.
a surge of people wanting to be tested? Dumarami ba ang mga nagpapatest? Dumarami ba ang mga kumpiyansa na ngayon na magpatest dahil nga sa saliva-based na lang?
Bumobelo lang yung iba dahil tuwan-tuwa sila dahil wala na sundutan sa ilong eh. Wala na sa bibig. Happy sila, kaya nagulat ka ako ngayon, ang dating sa akin ay 3,418 already today. At unti-unti tumataas yan. The other day, 150 lang yan eh. Ngayon, 3,418. Palakasan ang patakas yan.
In the meantime, sir, I'm just curious. As habang pumapasok to, it becomes much more popular. Do market forces also force the prices of other tests to go down? Are we seeing that?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes, because unang-una, tingnan mo, ang test na ito, wala ka ng PPE. Diba, ikaw, si Robby ba yan? Robby,
Papa.
papaniwalaan kita, bibigyan kita ng tinatawag natin ganito, itong vial.
Vial.
Ayan, meron ka ng card, nagpuno ka na. Inuwi mo ito, you spit on it, pwede mo nang padala sa akin yan. Pero gusto ko talaga, may nakakakita na yun talaga nag-spit dyan, yun.
Parang urine test eh.
Ang nag-spit, pero actually, iba pala ang kumuha, no? Rather, si Robby ginamit niya yung spit ni Annie. Ayoko yun.
Ayoko rin yun. Ayoko rin yun.
Madali yan.
Ew.
Bawal mag-lipstick eh. Bawal mag-French kissing. Kaya kailangan mabait tayo.
Yeah. Tama na.
I'm curious about what you mentioned na you're exploring the use of this para makabalik na mga estudyante natin sa face-to-face classes, ha? Are you
Yes.
discussing this possibility with the education officials?
Definitely, because pagka na-separate mo, na-isolate mo yung mga may positive, makakapasok na mga bata at kung makakatingin ka doon, pwede mo silang patest kagad. Then hindi masyado ang damage na maraming makaapektuhan. Kailangan talaga natetest lahat. You cannot get rid of testing. Sabi mo kanina, wala nang testing pagka may... No, kahit na meron ka ng tinatawag na vaccine, you still have to do testing. You still have to wear masks. You still have to wash your hands, and you still have to have distancing.
In the meantime, sir, we've had some samples, but still relatively a smaller set of people with other variants. Meron na po ba, do we have enough data to talk about the UK variants and the South African, the Brazilian variants, and how it performs under this test?
Alam mo, sometimes we over-study too much, no? Yung mga variants na yan, tapos sasabihin bigla, kaya ng Pfizer yan, kaya ng Moderna yan. Actually, baka propaganda lang nila yan para mas maganda yan because I can see also some Chinese propaganda na itong Chinese backed up by 2,000 years of testing. Kami ang una nakakuha ng smallpox, kaya dapat kami ang paniwalaan nyo. Yung mga ganyan ba? So, well, you know, ako, to be frank with you, I will not have myself vaccinated until 6 months na nagawa yan para makita ko talaga kung totoo lahat yung iba. But of course, I'd rather have people vaccinate. No? Pero I just want to be sure na okay lahat because lalo na yung mga, may mga apo ko, may allergy yan, delikado yan. No? So we want to be sure na the proper time comes, magagawa yan.
But isn't Red Cross itself actually procuring vaccines?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So if you're procuring vaccines and at the same time by your own admission, there's some kind of vaccine hesitancy on your part. How do you square that?
Well, I go by the science. The science is there. I'm just philosophizing. Mamaya, alam mo naman yan eh. Sabi ko sa'yo, huwag yan ang kunin mo. Dapat ito kinuha mo eh. Tignan muna natin kung ano ang the best. Tapos susunod tayo doon. Dahil sabi nga nila, halimbawa, ang Moderna is best for the Asians. Yung Pfizer raw, hindi magaling sa Asians. 71% ang efficacy raw ng Pfizer or 61%. Pero doon sa Moderna, halos 98%. So, titignan ko kung ano magaling. 6 months naman is an arbitrary figure.
Yes, sir.
Really,
pero sir,
I'm really more philosophizing. I take it back. My fault.
well,
You're going to back.
well, sorry about that, sir. Kasi yung nga, sir,
wait. What about the Sinovac? Are you... Okay. Sir, Sinovac, papayag ba kayo ron? O, lalo na yun.
Sinovac.
After 6 months, papayag ba kayo? Yes.
Unahin na muna natin si Harry Roque doon sa Sinovac. Okay, kaibigan ko naman yan eh.
Pero Senator, may suggestion na mga top
mauna raw yung political leaders ng bansa.
Nag-issue ng statement na politicians daw should lead by example. Kasi
From the president down.
Kukulangin yung mga Western vaccines eh. Even with the COVAX facility, we will still have to rely on other sources for the majority of our people. Now, 44 million doses, 22 million people lang yun eh. Nakukuha pa rin tayo either Russia or China. So, sabi ng OCTA, dapat daw manguna yung para mawala yung takot sa mga Pilipino sa Chinese-made vaccines. Are you willing to set the example being a politician and being the head of the Red Cross na to be vaccinated in public with the
everybody has choice. They can make their own choice. I'm not going to say I do it, so you do it. It's not that. It's not an endorser of a soap. It is really what is best for you, and you are the best one to select what you want. I cannot say, kunin mo yan. Kung ayaw mo, mamaya, sa akin.
A fair point. Yeah. A fair point.
Go ahead.
Fair point po. I think everybody understands that. And then everybody who has guested here has also emphasized that. Voluntary to. We don't want to do further harm by telling people requirement to. But meron ding, the other serious aspect here is we are getting ready to spend billions on these vaccines. And so there is a very real question now of, do we run the risk of wasting some of the vaccines that we bring in, particularly the Chinese vaccines?
Well, it's not a question of waste. It's a question of maximizing the best, di ba? Kunin natin yung the best. We don't have to get anything. Look, we've lived 11 months, 12 months. Those who took care of themselves, may mask sila, meron silang salamin, meron silang naguhugas sila ng kamay palagi, nag-i-stretch sila. They're okay. So I think those of them who want to choose, they should be allowed to choose. Akin ganon. I'm not going to force a particular product upon somebody else.
Pero
I can
sinasabi nga nila,
itong brand ng toothpaste ito, ang gamitin mo, nasusugat yung bibig ko dyan.
Yes, but there will be millions of Filipinos who don't have that choice, who don't feel like, it's like I can afford to wait for Pfizer. There are millions of Filipinos who will really just think of it as either I take what government is offering me, or I hold off precisely because I don't trust it.
Well, that's the law. The law says there is freedom of choice. Kung ayaw mong gamitin yon, huwag mong gamitin. But you have to be careful. I can arrest you if you do not wear a mask. If you're fooling around, like, you don't wash your hands, and you keep sneezing at other people, I will arrest you. That's allowed because you're endangering others. But if you're being careful and you don't want to use a particular vaccine, that's up to you. I'm not going to endorse Pfizer. I'm not going to endorse Moderna or Chinese medicine. I'm just going to say it really is up to you. If you really think you need it, go ahead and do it.
But sir,
How are you going to guard against, sabi nga nila, it's all voluntary, it's never going to be mandatory. But the point is, people are afraid that it might come to a point where if you're not vaccinated, we're not going to hire you, or you can't ride the plane, or you can't enter our premises. May mga ganung public
That would not
pressure.
be a
diba?
valid
How do we
exercise.
guard against that happening?
I think that would not be a valid exercise. Now you cannot ride the plane because you're not vaccinated. All you have to do is have a test certificate that you've been tested, that you're negative within the 5-day infection period. That's valid. You'll have to ride the plane. But if you have not been tested like that, then you will not be allowed. Because the vaccine is a matter of choice. You're allowing somebody to put medicine in you na maybe it's not your choice, and baka magkaroon ng reaction. So, sa akin, if you follow the formal protocols of safety, they will do that. Otherwise, the whole world will have to say, everybody must vaccinate. Now, think of it this way. In the 1917, so many people died. At least 50 million to 100 million died. There was no vaccine at that time. The virus died by itself, no? But I'm not going to wait for that. If there is a vaccine and you feel that that's the one you're going to use, fine. There are people that says, do not resuscitate. That's choice. Sasabihin ng isa, in my will, if something happens, do not resuscitate. That's choice. Pero you cannot impose that to everybody because kung ayaw nila, that will be a violation of their right to secure their own person in their own choice, in their
yes,
own
sir.
way.
Well, actually, sir, we do agree it is a matter of personal choice. And when the president said that he wants to be vaccinated privately, that is also a matter of personal choice. I suppose the questions being asked have to do with do public officials feel any obligation to set an example in order to erase doubts over the use of vaccines? Given the fact that ang laki po ang baba po ng vaccine confidence ng mga tao. So should the public officials feel any obligation to do it in public?
Well, if you force somebody to be an example, that is no longer an example. Di ba? Pinupuna sa museo. Sa akin, it's his own way. No? Netanyahu came out and did that. I'm not going to say it here because there was a joke once upon a time about some high-level politicians caught in a war in the Middle East, and they were given a vaccination of HIV. And somebody volunteered.
Well, let me, yeah. Chairman,
I'm not going to continue with the joke.
yeah.
Okay.
Chairman, let me take it from the other side of the question. What about people seeing public officials, even just their body language, basically declining to be first? Which is totally different from somebody either being first, setting a positive example. What about the body language of politicians saying, well, maybe baka hindi ako, baka may na. I mean, does that actually do harm?
Well, to a certain extent, it will because you have no business using taxpayers' money to buy medicine tapos ikaw mismo ang ayaw, especially if you're the one buying. You have no business doing that. But once you say, we're buying this for the sake of the people, then you can say, I got vaccinated. Or you can say, I'm immuno-affected. I'm immunosuppressed. So I don't have to take the vaccine. I don't want to take the vaccine. But to my mind, it's everybody's choice. Many people are asking me kung pwede mabigyan sila, but they're asking, wag naman yung Chinese vaccine. Sabi ko, nasa sa inyo yan, because kung walang Chinese vaccine, kung walang ibang vaccine, you may have to take it if you really want to take care, if you really believe that the vaccine will take care of your family.
Don't be choosy.
Are we beggars? We become beggars. Binibigay na nga. Ang dinig ko, binibigay sa atin eh. That's what happened in Dengbaksha. For goodness sake. Ipinili sa atin yan eh. Hindi nasabihan. That's why kami, pinapractice namin kaninang hapon dito. Bago kami mag-vaccinate, pinapractice namin, wala pa kami vaccine. Talagang, ini-examine namin yung iba-vaccinate. Meron ka bang allergy? Meron ka bang sakit? Meron ka bang ganito? At papipirmahin namin yon. Kasi yung nangyari sa Dengbaksha, pirma na lang, wala yung tatay, wala nanay, umirma, namatay. So, it's, vaccines are not panaceas,
Ano, what about the fact that, for example, as we speak, according to Father Austriaco, 100 million or so have already been vaccinated in the States. By number ko. I remember that he said that last night.
Yeah.
So, kumbaga, sa dami na ng mga na-vaccinate, wala na siguro tayong justification for the fears that we may have about side effects and stuff like that.
That's possible. Sometimes it's not the fear of side effects, but propagandizing the medicine from a particular ideology. That's what they don't like.
What do you mean?
A lot of people don't like it because ayoko yan eh. Kasi sinasagasaan yung mga barko natin yan. Basta ayoko yan.
Yeah.
Doon ako sa kakampi natin. There are some choices like that, no? But as far as
but that's a political decision more than anything else, right?
well, it becomes political because especially now after China suggests na anong kanilang mga marami nagalit sa kanila yung kanilang mga Coast Guard pwedeng papupuan yung mga tao natin, kunin yung mga lupang tinayan natin. Siyempre magagalit ang tao. They will not use Chinese products.
Well, Senator, if I may, I'd like to ask you about a different topic na altogether if everybody's finished with the vaccine issue. Kasi po, in July 2019, you filed the Senate Joint Resolution number 1, if I remember the number correctly, calling for revising the Constitution's economic provisions. With the same line, unless otherwise provided for by law. And mga week or week and a half ago, you said that at this time you do not want to have the Constitution changed because of bad timing. I'm wondering lang po, umaandar po kasi ngayon sa Kongreso yung constitutional amendments, napasa na sa komite at magpe-plenary na po, and they plan to pass it sa lower chamber before the Holy Week. From your end po, do you see any need to change your position or is it still the same? Are you still going to block?
There's a need, but not this time. Because once a constitutional organization is formed, whether it's CONAS or Constitutional Commission, it attains a life of its own. You cannot just limit it to the financial or the economic accounts. Delikado yan. Kaya sabi ko nung sinabi ko yan, kung magpipresidente ang isang tao, sa umpisa pa lang, gawin niyang plataforma yan. Ito ang babaguhin ko pag nanalo ko. At pag nanalo ko, gagawin ko yan on the first term para walang mag-iisip ng tinatawag nating may ulterior motive to perpetrate, no? Now, especially during these times, alam mo, I was telling my colleague kanina na nakakatakot ang mga panahon eh. Lahat ng bansang nakapaligid sa atin ay panay military na eh. Nangyari in Myanmar, I express concern. Mga sundalo yan, nawala na yung experiment nila sa democracy, no? Kawawa nga si Aung San Suu Kyi. She was always caught in between a rock and a hard place. When you go to other countries like Thailand, military na rin yan. You might say even in the Philippines, panay military na mga nasa cabinet, mga main officers natin. There is a tendency right now na tila pumupunta ang mundo sa authoritarianism and that diplomacy is being replaced by militarism. I worry about that. I worry about that. That's why I think we should talk about that. And you guys should talk about it more often because we want to maintain a country where civilian authority would always remain supreme over the military. In fact, even now, hindi kayo makaangal, natatakot kayo, baka babalikan kayo because mga katulad yan, bukas ang hearing ko is riding in tandem. Kung minsan binabalik-baliktad pa yung sinasabi ko. Sabi ko, merong extrajudicial killing, yung mga riding in tandem. Pero wala akong patunay na ang mga pulis ang gumagawa. Pag may proof yun, sasabihin ko. Pero ngayon, ang sinasabi ko nga, hindi naman nagbago. Ito, ang dami-dami na napapatay sa riding in tandem. Wala naman nangyayari. Tapos ayaw ng LTO ipagawa yung malalaking plaka na madaling makita so you can take a bite out of crime para hindi na pwede pag nakita mo lumalakad yung plaka, merong operation center na pwede mong tawagan, may lumalakad, walang plaka, pag may nakita kang crime, ganito nakalaki yung plaka, ibig sabihin meron ka ng laban na may color at saka may 3 number, pag nakuha mo yan, you can narrow the way upon which somebody is guilty of having perpetrated that. Imbes na right now, walang nangyayari. In fact, minasama nila yan. Sabi, ito raw plakang ito kasi laki ng television, kasi laki ng coupon ban. I'm not crazy. Why will I do that? Because I see every day people being killed. Did you see that time when kabamatay lang nung kay Nuesca, yung pinatay ni Nuesca? Abay doon sa posto nung quarantine, isang barangay tanod, nagbabantay, nagalit ata yung dumaan ng 2 motorsiklo, binalikan siya. And in front of a witness, sa bisikleta, in front of another barangay tanod, shot him point blank. That has got to stop in our country.
Yes,
and
sir.
we cannot be afraid of people who shoot because they will continue to shoot and one of these days they will shoot any of us. And
Okay.
that's why we really have to fight back on these matters.
Yes, sir. Mr. Senator.
I've been fighting that for a long time.
Yes, sir. Sir, we just have to pause for a break, so we hope you can stay with us until we come back after a few minutes. So please don't go away.
course.
We will be right back.
Of course, thank you.
Welcome back, the Chiefs, here on One News. We're now in the final stage of our conversation. Still with us, Senator Richard Gordon, Chairman of the Philippine Red Cross. And kanina, sir, we were talking to you mostly about the Red Cross. Now you're wearing your hat as Senator. So I just want to continue this conversation about charter change. And specifically,
This may jacket para...
ayan na. Sige. Okay. Ayan.
Change costume.
I have to do that.
Parang mas kagalang-galang nung Red Cross eh. No, Senator.
I agree with you.
This notion of this discussion and these assurances from Congress that don't worry, we will keep it to economic provisions. They're saying if it's not necessarily airtight, we have the supermajority, we'll keep everybody disciplined. But I'm just wondering, the pragmatics of being in Congress. If I were, on the other hand, opposed to charter change, how easy is it for me to throw a spanner in there and say na, hindi, if you won't bring up political dynasties and lifting of term extensions, I'll bring it up. And it's like throwing a bone to the dogs, magkagulo na ngayon dyan. And then therefore that kills the whole movement. Or is it actually realistic for the supermajority to have the control and to discipline this and to get what they want, at least in terms of this particular phrase on economic provisions?
I have been in a constitutional convention and I know how it is. That even with our principled stand, we just got swamped by the majority. I called it the incumbent almighty at the time. pagkagumalo yon, nagbigay ng envelopes. Remember, Quintero, Delegate Quintero, meron silang mga envelope na binibigay. Sinamahan ko si Delegate Quintero. Talo-talo kami. And then during the debate on the ban Marcos, I was against it. May usapan na ilalabas ko yung provision na yung mga na tumanggap ng envelope out of delicadeza should not vote. I was prevailed upon. Nagalit ako kay Raul Manglapus at saka even President Macapagal was telling me, tama na, panalo na tayo. Ang ganda na ng mga speeches. Eh sabi ko, talo tayo. Eh, yun na nga, nung matapos, talo tayo. And that's the way it is. The majority will run roughshod on you. Unless talagang, you know, that's one of the things that I really row in this country is that the patriotism is more said than done. And we really have to change our education, get our history together. You know, like we're celebrating 500 years, sabi na, of Christianization. Sabi ko, no, 500 years when Spain's contribution was to put together one nation out of a string of pearls. And yun ang kailangan natin malaman. And that Lapu-Lapu was not a killer, but innate in him was his love of what he called his country at that time, Sugbu. And that is innate in every Filipino.
Sabi ni Tito Sen, cha daw ang kailangan, hindi cha-cha. Character change daw, hindi raw charter change. Is that what you're saying?
Sa ating character assassination ang uso eh. When I became mayor, I said what this country needs is not a change of men, but a change in men. You have to change us. Up to and until, ako every day I give something to the people. I don't say I give. Sabi ko, this is to get you up. The hand that gives is higher than the hand that receives. And what happens is palagi na lang, lumalabas, instant gratification. Pag hindi nabigyan, hindi ka na iboboto o wala nang iisipin. And that is why it is important na talagang even this early stage, the qualifications are pronouncedly defined by the media and by everybody who can take an opportunity to say, these are the things that we need for our country. Kundi ang nangyayari naman yan, sino may pera, sino ang celebrity, sino ang mangyayari, patay na naman tayo.
Senator, yung opinion mo on charter change, would you say that it's shared by the majority of senators? Kasi ang tingin ng mga tao, sa House mukhang sigurado na matutuloy eh. And only the Senate will be in the way. Sa tingin niyo,
actually, sir, I have a standing bet with Attorney Christian Monson on this. Kung boboto ba ang Senado in favor of charter change on economic provisions or not? Anong basa nyo nga? Yeah.
Kasi economic provisions lang, kalay ko lalawig eh. Hindi may iwan sa economic provisions yan. Dadami ang provisions sa papalitan dyan. And once that happens, wala na. It can go left, right, front, center. That is what's going to happen. And nobody can stop it because it becomes a co-equal branch of government.
Yeah.
Under the law, you cannot stop it because they have their own charter, they have their own job to do.
Kaya nga, sir, how is the Senate now? Where do you see it veering toward? Does it look like the Senate will also go along with, the charter change on economic provisions?
My hope is that the majority of the senators will stop it, but you never know because there is a distinct minority there na talagang susunod kung whatever is said by the administration.
Well, sir, let's break it down, sir. If Congress expands the amendments beyond the economic provisions, tingin nyo pasok yan papasa yan sa Senado? Hindi. Kung economic provisions lang, tingin nyo papasa sa Senado? Hindi.
Kung economic provisions lang, papasa yan. Pero I'm willing to bet with you, hindi lang economic provisions yan, pati political provisions. What is really needed is, as far as I'm concerned, economic provisions should really belong to the legislature. It doesn't belong in the Constitution. The Constitution should be the embodiment of the political philosophy of a country. What are we, what form of government are we going to have, and what are the restrictions on the military, and what are on civilian authority, for example, and certainly the Bill of Rights. Wala naman tayo nakikita sa American Constitution na economic provisions eh. Hardly. Panay yung rules nila on what kind of a democracy they will have. Yung amendments nila is the right to bear arms, or the right to free speech, or the right to be free from unnecessary searches, etc., etc. Even the right to equality, which happened after the Civil War, and everybody should be equal, but in actual scenario is still happening right now. Ngayon pa lang nakakalamang ang mga blacks sa Amerika.
So, sir, if the House sticks to its word and sticks only to economic provisions, you see at least 18 senators, the minimum 3/4, voting for the amendment. Tama ba?
Well, I hope so, but even the word that I use, unless otherwise provided for by law, because kung ginawa yung maaga, I think maganda na yan. Because actually, unless otherwise provided for law, sabi nga ng isang expert, it can mean many, many things. So, sa akin, that is better left to the legislature, not in the Constitution.
Okay, but I mean, outside of any specific wording, still on Ed's point, it actually this goes back to my first question. Are you saying that as soon as one political provision is entered into that proposal, does that automatically make it too unwieldy to pass? Does that automatically doom it? In other words, basta merong konting economic provision dyan, patay na yan. Wala nang oras dyan.
Pagka may majority, they can do anything. I know. Yesterday, I was the only one who voted against mukhang maganda, hindi ba? Bababa ang taxes. Yung create. I voted against it. I like it. In large part, I like it. I commended Pia Cayetano and my fellow senators. But when you start changing the rules in the middle of the game, especially at the time when everybody's going to Vietnam instead of the Philippines, when our GDP is going down, our economy is contracting, do you think that at this stage, I have faith all the time in the Filipino. I'm a very positive man. Do you think, as a general rule, we are going to get the investments? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I can only have faith. I will be arrogant. Kung ako magbebenta, makakakuha ko. Pero kung hahayaan ko, andyan ang Department of Trade, andyan lahat, Foreign Affairs, they're supposed to sell our nation to investments. But when they keep saying that the rules are changed in the middle of the game, that the rule of law isn't really pronounced and pound deeply into our people, talagang mahirapan tayong kumuha ng investments.
Anong specific provision sa create yung ayaw nyo, Senator?
Well, pinalitan nila lahat, nag-create sila ng powerful body, yung FIRD, na lahat naman yan nangyari, wala naman ang FIRD. Subic got FedEx, Subic got Coastal, yung FIRB biglang papasok ngayon, paglampas ng 1 billion, sila na. What are they trying to prove? Na pagbalaki kailangan sa Manila? That is counter to the provision of the local government code na may autonomy. I tried to push a bill called RICH so that we can maximize the use of Subic, Clark, and Manila, and Bataan, and the ports of the airports and airports nearby, and the highway connectivities. There's plenty of land there. Bigyan mo ng incentives yan, ready na, para pag nag-imbita ka, hindi ituturo saan, doon. Sasabihin ka na, sino may-ari? Kausapin muna natin. Pero pagka nakaset up na ang political, legal, and moral infrastructure, it's easy to bring in business to the community. That is largely the success of Subic and Clark eventually.
Ano pa? Yung mga tax breaks, are you in favor? Yung mga tax breaks under the create?
Of course, I'm in favor of any tax break. But will it happen? You think it will go down to 20%? China is lower. Singapore is 17%. I think several other countries are lower than us. Vietnam.
25 lang yata yung created.
Tayo, akala nyo ba maibabayan at this time?
Yeah.
At this time, you're going to bring down the taxes from 30% to 20%?
25, yeah.
Nahihirapan tayo dyan. I don't think we're going to have to look for money. And where are you going to get the money? Kaya ako, I'm in favor. License all the weapons and tax them para mawala yung mga killings na yan. You have to look for other sources of revenue. Otherwise, how are you going to pay for all the expenses of this country today?
Yeah. Former NEDA Secretary Ernesto Pernia was saying here, if I recall correctly, it was him who said it, that the correct bill should have been the Arise bill, because he said basically create is a supply side intervention, and the reality is what we need right now is to help the demand. And what's the use of all of these helping the businesses when people don't have any money? On the other hand, that's said in the context of COVID, the immediate term. Or does that in fact go to what should be the long-term vision here?
The job of the government is to create an atmosphere of equal opportunity so that business will come to us au natural because there's the rule of law. And because they're given equal opportunity, they're not built, they will come in and the people will now be able to get jobs on their own. The reality is, ang hirap kumuha ng investments because ang daming complaint, mahal ang kuryente, mahal ang tubig, maraming disasters.
Infrastructure.
Structure kulang. Kaya nga sabi ko, if you do it right away in Subic, Clark, Manila, and the whole of Central Luzon, you'll have a new area upon which you can use the infrastructure that is there, that is par excellence. You can do it later on in Cebu. The island of Negros can also be like that, where people themselves can sell their lands, not lands, but lease their lands so that people will come in. And but in reality, you can see that ang baba ng mga taxes tapos kumikita in Singapore dahil marami silang negosyo. Pero tayo, kahit na ibaba mo yan, I'm not sure whether yung 20% would be sufficient. And I don't think, I firmly believe, I'd be surprised if they bring it down to 20% or even to 24%.
Actually, sir, those are the very same reasons that some economists believe that amending the constitutional provisions on the economy will not really help us in the long run to attract foreign direct investors, because precisely the climate here turns them off. It's not really the restrictive provisions of the Constitution, but the economic climate here. So in effect, you agree also with that, but you seem to agree that economic provisions should be loosened also, right? Except that the timing is right. So what is it with you? I mean, where are you on that?
You have to be predictable. You have to be consistent. You have to be transparent. All that has got to be done. The courts have to be there, reliably making judgments based on the law, and it must be enforced. I don't think we have that yet. That is why I say, kung may bagong presidente, ako kaya ipapangako ko, magkakaroon tayo ng constitutional change right away, and it will be done, and I will say, these are the following things I'd like to amend. Para ang tao malinaw. At papaliwanag ko, habang kampanya, you can have a debate, so the campaign becomes a debate on issues that matter to the people. Right now, people don't care. They don't believe. Kaya mangangako ka, sabihin nila dyan, puro BS yan. Pinangako na dati, walang mangyayari. Iba, nagbibigay na ng pera. Paano mo gagawin yan? Talagang walang maniniwala sapagkat you need good management. You may have the land, you may have the labor, but you don't have the capital, and you don't have the management, and you don't have the rule of law. We are really beating ourselves to death. So kailangan talaga, yung sinasabi nyo kanina, change in men para talaga magbago. And there must really be a campaign for that. And we should use our history to allow that change to happen.
Sir, balikan ko lang yung COVID. You mentioned na kahit may vaccine na, we still have to maintain basic health protocols. And the COMELEC is saying, baka ibawal na yung face-to-face campaigning. Okay ba yun sa inyo? You're a politician. You think that will help, or by the time the campaign period rolls around, kaya na natin and we actually need face-to-face campaigning? Anong tingin niyo?
That is reckless on the part of the COMELEC. The right of suffrage is one of the most basic rights, and they have no right to say COVID will stop it. Even a war will not stop elections. I mean, if you're going to have elections, you can always have distancing. You can always do the proper engineering, political engineering or social engineering to make it happen. But you know, the real engineering that is happening there is we don't have a reliable counting system. That is the problem up to now. Everybody's, just this morning, somebody was asking me, palitan natin yung counting system natin, dahil nagdadayaan yan. And you know, Dominion was here in the Philippines, by the way. Dominion was inviting me to go to Delaware. They were the problem. And also this, I did not go. And I'll tell you, lahat yan, when you computerize, you better make sure that the computerization will not be used to do computerized cheating. And the only way you can do that is to make people believe in real parties, believe in what they want to do. You know, we may not like what's happening in America, pero at least yung mga tao doon naniniwala sa right, naniniwala sa left.
Okay.
At may prinsipyo. Pero dito, wala tayong pinapaniwalaan eh. It's always the power of money.
Yeah.
Really so sad.
Yeah, but Senator, putting together your two hats now, as senator, as a politician, at the same time, knowing what you know sa Red Cross, what's your prognosis, what's our best case scenario for the May elections in 2022? By that time, will we have sufficiently inoculated people, and what will it look like at the polling stations?
Well, by that time, we would have enough inoculation. As the time goes on, bababa ang price ng COVID injections, yung vaccine sa tingin ko, no? And even now, I just told the Red Cross, we were practicing on a bus, we were practicing our people, we've already practiced about 1,000 people. I told my people here, we'll do 6,000 trained to vaccinate. Kahit na wala tayong vaccine, magwa-vaccinate tayo. Because ang importante, mabuhay tayo. Kung hindi tayo magwa-vaccinate, hindi makakapasok ang tatay natin sa trabaho, hindi makakapasok yung mga bata sa trabaho, magiging bobo tayo, ihina ang ekonomiya, wala tayong pambayad, lalo tayo maghihirap. Already, they're saying we're the lowest in Asia, along with India, sa recovery. We're number 3, we're number 79 out of 98 in terms of COVID, no? And yet, tingnan nyo, hindi naman ako magyayabang siguro sa inyo, ang Red Cross test 1,854,564. Ang pinakamalapit sa amin is 548,000. And now we're doing saliva test. Kung tumigil pa yan, di lalong nasa 98 na tayo. And yet, may utang pa sa atin ang, yun na lang, hindi papasok ang negosyo. Inutangan yung Red Cross, hindi naman kami nagpapautangan. Napuwersa kaming mag-test dahil kailangan ng tao. Ang utang nila sa atin, almost 600 million pa rin. And yet, pag sinabi mo meron tayong saliva test, marami pa rin kuskus balungos, marami pa rin nag-check kung ano-ano sinasabi. Sa atin, kailangan talaga, you need strong, firm, and fair leadership. You cannot have a country without strong, firm, and fair leadership. It's always been the secret of Lee Kuan Yew, Mahathir, and other countries in the world. You don't have to be a dictator, but you certainly must provide clarity of vision. You must make sure that you have the will to change the country and enforce the law. We pass laws, they're never enforced.
Okay.
Always, somebody has got to be better than the other. Somebody's got to be first over the other. So there's really no equality. That's why we are in this rut that we're in.
Okay. Red Cross Chairman and Senator Richard Gordon. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us tonight. Nakuha niyo yung buong episode.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Napuno niyo yung buong episode.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I always
Sir, dali,
enjoy
ibalik
meeting
ang
you.
jacket. Ibalik ang jacket.
Bigyan ng jacket yan.
Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
Salamat. Thank you. Glad to be with you guys.
Thank you, sir. And that'll be all for this Thursday edition of The Chiefs. We hope to discuss here. We'll keep the conversation going. I'm Edwin Gao.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News.